And since that point in time, I've been watching David Taylor wrestle, compete, mesmerize, and win. And he's won at every single level.
To produce something special.
Oh, look at that! Oh my goodness!
But he's a three-time junior high state champion, and he's a cadet national champion in freestyle.
He helped build the most dominant wrestling program in America. Then he became the biggest threat to it. David Taylor is an Olympic champion.
Just turned the biggest match of all around in an instant. The man who knows how to beat.
A multiple-time world champion.
Touche confirmed by David Taylor.
One of the greatest freestylers to ever represent the United States. For years, he was the standard at 86 kilograms, untouchable, unshakable, and seemingly impossible to beat when it mattered the most. But the most dangerous part about his story isn't what he has won, it's what he helped create. Because while David Taylor was dominated in the world stage, he was also in the room that built the next generation of American wrestling. Penn State. And years later, that system produced someone who would force him to the edge of his career. At the 2024 Olympic team trials, the world watched something almost unthinkable happen. The man who once defined dominance was now fighting just to stay alive in the best-of-3 series versus an athlete developed in his own ecosystem. And then just like that, the Olympic dream was gone. No second games, no defensive gold, no final run at history. And suddenly, the question wasn't whether David Taylor was still a great. The question now became, was his era over? But that's what makes this story different. Because David Taylor didn't just step away. He would just switch roles. And what he's building now might be even more dangerous than what he accomplished as an athlete. Because while one dynasty has ruled this game for over a decade, another one is rising fast, just to challenge it. And the man leading it all is the same man who helped build the first dynasty. Before the world knew him as the Magic Man, before the world titles, before the Olympic gold medal, before he became one of the most defining figures in American history, David Taylor was just a simple kid with more energy than his parents wanted to deal with. David would grow up in a small town in Wyoming, a place where hard work and discipline was just a part of everyday life. The small town work ethic and discipline would be the foundation for David Taylor's career later in the future, but from an early age, he was different. In the words of his mother, he was restless, consistently moving, and impossible to contain. Then one day, everything would change as his mother would then find an ad in the local newspaper for the Red Devil Wrestling Club. At just 5 years old, David stepped onto the wrestling mat for the very first time. And the start for the future Olympic champion wouldn't be the best, as he lost a lot, actually pretty often. He didn't win a match until his very last match. But something stuck with David. He saw the game as a challenge and he wanted to be better. As David grew older, his parents realized something very important, and that was that their son wasn't going to reach his full potential in the small town. So his family made a decision that would alter his life forever. Around the age of 9, the Taylors would relocate once again, but this time to St. Paris Graham, Ohio. Specifically so David can train under legendary youth wrestling coach Jeff Jordan, one of the most respected development coaches in the country. This sacrifice was a sacrifice few families would make. They uprooted their whole entire lives just to give David Taylor a chance to pursue something bigger than himself, just to give him a chance to chase his dreams. And immediately, the difference began to show. In Ohio, David became one of the top athletes in the state of Ohio. He would be attending camps consistently, which included one camp in Utah that is very critical to his future. Along with attending some of the best camps in the country, he would also be sharpening his skills versus better competition in the state of Ohio. And by the time middle school rolled around, David Taylor would be one of the best middle schoolers in the country, winning multiple youth state titles in the state of Ohio. With the youth scene wrapping up for David Taylor, he would no longer be that same 5-year-old kid in the state of Wyoming losing majority of his matches. The sacrifice that David Taylor's parents made doesn't go unnoticed. This sacrifice would be probably the biggest in his career. But the foundation had already been built with Jeff Jordan by his side, and soon the wrestling world would begin to take notice. By the time David Taylor reached high school, the foundation had already been built. Years of sacrifice from his family, countless hours of competing and training to some of the top youth tournaments had turned him into one of the most promising young wrestlers in America. Now at St. Paris Graham, Ohio, under the legendary coach Jeff Jordan, Taylor would prove exactly how far ahead he was from everyone else. From the moment that he stepped onto the mat as a freshman, dominance would follow. Competing at 103 pounds in 2006, Taylor would storm through the competition in Ohio. This would include his first of 4 Ironman championships and also a state title as a freshman. For most athletes, winning a state title as a freshman will become a defining moment of their career. But for David Taylor, it was only the first chapter. His sophomore year would bring more of the same. Another state title, another Ironman title, another statement to the world that the future star was beginning to emerge. By his junior season, now competing at 112 pounds, Taylor had already begun to separate himself from not only the competition in Ohio, but from nearly every other high school athlete in America. Opponents came prepared, they studied his style, they entered the match hoping to be the one to stop him, but no one could. A third Ironman championship followed by his third state championship only confirmed what many already suspected. David Taylor was simply not winning matches, but he was untouchable. Then came his senior season in 2009. Jumping up 4 weight classes, now competing at 135 pounds, Taylor ended the year carrying national attention. At the Ohio State tournament, he once again dominated the bracket and captured his 4th consecutive state championship. In the finals of his senior year at the state tournament, he would get a fall in the finals.
For a title, here comes the standing ovation.
This overwhelming performance would award him with the OW honors. And just like that, his high school career came to an end. The numbers were staggering. 180 career victories and just 2 losses. This would include 4 Ohio State championships, and also he would become the first ever 4-time Ironman champion. For David Taylor's last 3 years in high school, no one could beat him, and by the end of 2009, he had become the #1 pound-for-pound recruit in the country. Naturally, every powerhouse program wanted him, but for David Taylor, the decision had already been made. He had already committed to Iowa State during his junior season, choosing to go compete for the man that he deeply admired, an Olympic gold medalist and a 4-time NCAA champion, wrestling icon Cael Sanderson. At the time, it felt like a perfect fit. Taylor saw Cael as a coach that he wanted to learn from, the mentor who understood what it took to be the greatest, a coach who could help him become the best in the world. But then everything would just change.
I want to wrestle like him. I want to be the guy in the national finals that scores 20 points. I want to be the guy that's out there just ankle picking, trying to put people on their back, non-stop, trying to wrestle from every single situation. So it was like, okay, I want to wrestle for this guy. Had the awesome opportunity to go to Penn State. So immediately, very first thing I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to Penn State. No doubt, I'm going there. Well, then I realized that there's a possibility I couldn't go. There was releases, there were being ineligible, there was people that didn't want me to leave Iowa State.
In one of the most shocking moves college wrestling has ever seen, Cael Sanderson left Iowa State and accepted the head coaching position at Penn State University. Suddenly, Taylor's future was uncertain. The school that he had committed to no longer had the coach that he had chosen. So David made a decision that would alter history forever. He would request his release from Iowa State, and shortly after, he made it official. David Taylor would follow Cael Sanderson to Penn State, and at that time, it seemed like a simple recruiting decision. In reality, it was the beginning of a partnership that would go on to build the most dominant dynasty that the college sports has ever seen. When David Taylor arrived at Penn State in 2009, the program looked nothing like the powerhouse that the fans see today. There was no dynasty, there was no championships, there was no empire. Penn State was still searching for an identity, but everything began to change the moment one man stepped onto campus, Kyle Sanderson. Fresh off his surprising departure from Iowa State, Kyle had been brought into Penn State to do one thing, and that was to make this into a dynasty.
This area attracted you to come to Penn State because your hiring was certainly a blockbuster move for this university and really sent shockwaves all around the wrestling world nationwide.
Yes, they've had a strong history, and I think that we can take that history and just build on it. And if we do things the right way and with a lot of hard work and a little luck, I think we can really create a dynasty here.
And almost immediately, he made one thing clear. He had a vision, and at the center of that vision stood one athlete, David Taylor. But that decision came with consequences. Before Kyle arrived, Penn State already had a star, Bubba Jenkins, one of the most talented athletes in the country. Bubba had already reached the NCAA finals before Sanderson even took over the program. Penn State had been his dream school, and for years he looked like the future of the program. Then David Taylor would follow Kyle Sanderson to Penn State, and suddenly everything changed. Years later, Bubba would talk about this situation himself, and he would just be brutally honest about this. I wasn't Kyle Sanderson's guy, David Taylor was.
And leading up to that match, I was like, he took my dream, he took my school, he took my home, and I'm about to go take his championship. 7 minutes.
The message was clear. The future of Penn State will be built around David Taylor. Faced with this reality, Jenkins made the painful decision to leave his dream school of Penn State, and then he would eventually land at Arizona State. And it was a move that altered the futures of both athletes, and fate, almost unbelievably, fate would bring the two back together. After redshirting after his first year on campus, David Taylor would officially enter the Penn State lineup during the 2010-2011 season at 157 pounds. Immediately, the college world saw something different.
Unbelievable all year. So many major decisions, pins. Very, very seldom does he just win by a decision. The way that Kyle Sanderson dominated.
I got to coach David on the junior world team in 2006. There he is on a patented single leg. He scores right away. Very dominant, and now he's very good here. He's got the leg, got the ankle out. Although St. John's doing a good job of repositioning his hips, and David comes right back in.
And gets the one escape, which is huge here because now he... Oh, and the far ankle, there's the key.
Absolutely. Control is going to be, David's letting him go. Confident on his feet, nice shot. In on that ankle. Scores.
Nice job by St. John. Dominant and workmanlike victory for David Taylor. Now at 2 in a row for Penn State.
Absolutely great victory.
And in the All-American Wrestling Supply featured match.
Taylor competed with a style that few had ever seen before. Most athletes try to focus on controlling the match, maybe getting to a tie, and having a 1 or 2 takedown match. This would be the complete opposite of David Taylor. He would not want a controlling match. He wanted chaos. He would attack relentlessly. He would score points from positions where most athletes look to simply survive. His pace would suffocate opponents. His offense never stopped. Every match, every time he competed, it felt like a storm, as he would blow through the tough Big Ten schedule, and he would roll into the Big Ten tournament undefeated, looking for his first Big Ten championship.
David, great performance as always. You just been tearing up everyone this year. I'm sure your goal is to become a national champion. What are your thoughts handling all the pressure, becoming a freshman? You're kind of following in the footsteps of your coach, Kyle Sanderson.
David Taylor has not been in this position all year. Behind this late in the first period, what's going on in his mind?
Well, right now he's thinking offense. Get right back in on it himself. Escape takedown is a great way to answer, Tim.
If Iowa would win here, that would really do a lot for their title hopes.
Nice counter shot there by St. John. Rips through. Good job by Taylor. Coming back up, the guy who has his head up, which is Taylor in this situation, puts the leg in and wins.
Wow. Wins. Pretty cool customer, David Taylor. And there's his dad capturing the moment, David Taylor. His dad, David Taylor.
And that's exactly what happened. In his first shot, in his first time at a Big Ten tournament, he would walk away the champion. with all eyes looking towards March. And coming into the NCAA tournament, fans wanted to know one thing: could the young phenom David Taylor keep the hot streak going as a freshman? And that's exactly what David Taylor would do. As a freshman, he would find himself in the NCAA finals, but this is after dominating every athlete that he competed against for that NCAA tournament.
And that is it. David Taylor with a tremendous performance for Kyle Sanderson at Penn State. He is moving on to the final.
And in the finals of the NCAA tournament, standing across him would be a familiar name, Bubba Jenkins.
What are your thoughts about facing Bubba tomorrow night? Kind of ironic or coincidental or just strange, I guess, that you guys are the guys going in?
High-quality wrestler. He's been in the final before. It's not like he's a slouch by any means. He's pretty tough.
The very athlete whose future at Penn State had been altered by David Taylor's arrival. The irony of this moment was just simply impossible to ignore. The former Penn State star, the new face of Penn State wrestling. The old future versus the new future.
Taylor, a freshman for Penn State, undefeated this year, a four-time Ohio State high school champion. His closest match this year was a 9-3 win over Jesse Dong of Virginia Tech.
Sorry. It's Bubba Jenkins versus Taylor. Bubba Jenkins used to wear the Penn State uniform. He was a runner-up a couple of years ago to Metcalf from Iowa. Moved to Arizona.
Jenkins, formerly of Penn State, made the move to Arizona State, had to sit out a year. Here he is now going for a national title against his former school.
Great flurry. Jenkins doing a nice job of deep. There's some points.
Back points coming. Bubba Jenkins gets a national.
And on one of the game's biggest stages, Bubba won. For David Taylor, this defeat had to be one of the hardest that he faced in his young career. For Bubba, it was validation, but what no one understood in the moment was that this loss would become one of the most important turning points of David Taylor's entire career. Because David Taylor did not let this loss define him. Instead, David Taylor would take this loss for what it was, and it was truly just a great learning lesson for him during this time period. And 1 year later, the payoff will be coming for David Taylor because everything would change.
Joined by David Taylor. Well, David, you moved up a weight class, but does the approach change at all?
Nope, nah, it's the same. The only difference is this year, I think, last year, being a freshman and stepping there for the first time, I was confident in my,
Now competing at 165 pounds, Taylor looked like a completely different athlete, more dangerous, more confident, more relentless than ever. Every week, someone was getting smacked around by David Taylor, getting 15 points dropped on their head, 20 points dropped on their head. Tradition in this game has always rewarded patience, controlling the ties, minimizing the mistakes. David Taylor did not want to do any of that. He hunted points relentlessly. Every exchange felt like an attack. It was during this run where he would earn the nickname that would forever follow him, the Magic Man. Because the way that he was beating these guys on the mat didn't seem possible at the time. And by the Big Ten tournament, David Taylor was simply on another level from every athlete.
Big Ten championship, their first, and the NCAA championship last year, their first since '53, and there's a reversal for Tate. So he chose right, choosing down in the third period, but single leg right back. Yeah, single leg. Just your smile for the two-time Big Ten champion, David Taylor, with a Nittany Lion. That's a good-looking performance, Tim.
He would then storm through the Big Ten tournament where he would walk out as a two-time Big Ten champion. Coming into the NCAA championships, David Taylor was on an absolute heater and it would not slow down anytime soon. He would storm through the NCAA tournament and then he would once again reach the finals.
American, who finished 7th last year in the NCAA championships, 0-1 in his own match against David Taylor this year. Off we go in the 165s.
Nice ankle pick there by Taylor.
In the finals, he would be up against Brendan Hatchett of Lehigh, who actually gave David Taylor one of his closest matches throughout the year. But in the finals, just to show the levels that he jumped throughout the year, David Taylor would drop 20 on this man and tech fault him in the NCAA finals. David Taylor would put on a masterclass in the NCAA finals of that year. Takedown after takedown, cut after cut, David Taylor would win his first NCAA championship in dominant fashion. In 4 matches at the NCAA tournament, David Taylor would record 3 tech falls and 1 pinfall. But that's not it. Penn State would also win their second back-to-back NCAA championship as a team. And just like that, it was the start of the Penn State dynasty. Everyone knew that Kyle Sanderson and Penn State was just getting started. And this statement would prove to be true, as by 2012, David Taylor had become the face of college wrestling. Already being a 2-time NCAA All-American, a 1-time runner-up, and an NCAA champion, David Taylor would also win the Dan Hodge Trophy. And by this time, Penn State would also start to pick up steam as the dynasty would start growing, and David Taylor would be the centerpiece of it all. But the most impressive thing to me was how he looked when he was competing. He would be out there dominating guys, making it look effortlessly. In the first 2 years of college, he would overwhelm everyone they put in front of him. The relentless pace, the consistent attacks, the always trying to score, always trying to put his opponent on their back. Having the ability to score points from positions that most athletes would never consider. In hindsight, this style of competing would just become the blueprint for Penn State moving forward. However, David Taylor would be a critical piece, as he would be the foundation for other athletes to follow into his footsteps. Guys like Jason Knopf, Bo Nickel, Aaron Brooks, and Mitchell Messenbrink. Coming into his junior season, there was little reason to believe that David Taylor would not continue to dominate. This is until one man stepped in front of him.
Everything about my life is about winning a national championship.
And that's Kid Dynamite right there.
I want people to say that Kyle Dake was the greatest of all time.
Representing Cornell, Dake was building quite the little resume. Unlike anyone else in the NCAA history, Dake would be calm where Taylor was chaotic, methodical where Taylor thrived on his pace. He would be technically flawless. When other athletes crumbled under the pressure, he would not. Stylistically, he was David Taylor's perfect opposite, and for the first time in years, David Taylor found someone who could actually stop him.
Forward to this matchup, I mean, it's being billed pretty heavily as the match of the century, I think is what Flo's calling it. How excited are you for it? You know, you're one day away.
It's always nice to compete against the best guys, so the opportunity to wrestle one of the best guys in the country, and that's all you can ask for as an athlete.
How long we known, a month? I think Kyle Dake just broke Spates' hand.
The first collision came at the All-Star Classic, one of the biggest showcases events for the sport. Even though the match wouldn't count towards the official record, the results of the match sent shockwaves through the sport. Kyle Dake won. For many watching it, it felt strange seeing David Taylor lose, but there was still belief that maybe he had an off night. Maybe Taylor would adjust. Maybe next time it would be different. Then came January, the Southern Scuffle, one of the toughest tournaments throughout the year, and the two would meet again. This time, the match counted, and once again, Kyle Dake won. This match at the Southern Scuffle did have some questionable calls, so maybe David Taylor could get it right. Maybe that he could figure it out the next time the two met. And for the first time in years, David Taylor looked vulnerable. Suddenly, a rivalry had been born. 2 generational athletes, 2 completely different styles. And now the two would be on an unavoidable collision course towards the NCAA championships. All season long, Taylor would continue to dominate the rest of the country. He would capture yet another Big Ten title, and he would enter the NCAA tournament once again looking destined to make the finals. And waiting for David Taylor in the finals was Kyle Dake. This atmosphere surrounding the championship match felt enormous. It wasn't just another NCAA finals. It felt like the 2 best athletes in America in the game was fighting over control of who was the king of college. For David Taylor, this wasn't simply about winning another national championship. This was redemption, a chance to finally solve one puzzle that he hadn't been able to figure out yet. This match was everything people expected, tense, tactical, a battle where every position mattered, but in the end, history repeated itself. Kyle Dake would win 5-4 to become a 4-time NCAA champion in 4 different weight classes, the first time in history. For the third time that season, David Taylor had lost to the same man. 3 meetings, 3 losses. For an athlete who spent years making the impossible look routine, this was very unfamiliar territory. And for the first time in his college career, the doubt about David Taylor being the best athlete in college was at question. He looked human. David Taylor had finally met one athlete he could not beat. Still, even through this individual heartbreak, Taylor helped Penn State to yet another NCAA team championship, continuing to rise the dynasty that he helped create. But the losses to Dake would stay with him. For an athlete whose entire career had been built around consistent progression, always hitting the next level, being in second place was simply not acceptable. And that made what happened next so terrifying for everyone else. In 2013, David Taylor's senior year, he came back angry. There was no hesitation, there was no doubt, there was no vulnerability. This senior season would become a masterpiece for David Taylor. Every opponent he went up against, they would get the belt by the pace, the pressure, and the relentless offense that once made him untouchable. Except now, he looked even better. Match after match, Taylor would dismantle the competition, refusing to give anyone a glimpse of hope. At the Big Ten tournament, David Taylor would win his 4th Big Ten championship, putting him in some elite company. And by the time the NCAA championships rolled around, he looked unstoppable. He would tear through the tournament. He would finish that season with 34 wins and 0 losses. In the finals, he would shut out Oklahoma State's Tyler Caldwell 6-0 to capture his 2nd NCAA championship. This redemption was complete. By the end of his college career, the resume was staggering: 134 career victories and only 3 official losses. 4 straight Big Ten championships. He would become a 4-time All-American while winning 2 NCAA titles.
Penn State's David Taylor. Taylor has a career resume that will make you rub your eyes to make sure you're seeing straight. But to just focus on this year, he was a Big Ten champion, Big Ten Wrestler of the Year, Hodge Trophy winner, NCAA National Champion,
and also, most importantly, he would win 2 Dan Hodge trophies, and the foundation for the Penn State dynasty would be permanently set. This would alter college wrestling forever. Perhaps the most important lesson that David Taylor learned throughout his college career wasn't in the wins. It would be found in the losses, because Kyle Dake did something that no one ever could before. He proved that David Taylor was human, and from that moment forward, David Taylor would spend the rest of his career learning how to become something even greater. While David Taylor was rapidly becoming one of the most dominant athletes in college, another journey started to unfold in parallel. Behind the NCAA championships, behind the sold-out arenas, and Penn State's growing dynasty, Taylor had already begun chasing far bigger dreams: international freestyle wrestling. For most college athletes, the transition from folk style to freestyle doesn't happen until after they graduate. This is due to the slight differences between the two styles. Freestyle rewards exposure, speed, explosive scoring opportunities, while folk style emphasizes control, riding time, and positional dominance. But David Taylor wasn't waiting. Even during his earliest years at Penn State, he already begun to prepare for the world stage. In 2010, while just beginning his college career, Taylor would enter a freestyle competition at 74 kilograms and immediately made his impact felt. Competing at the University Nationals, now known as U23, he tore through the field with a perfect 6-0 record, capturing the tournament championship. This would only be the beginning. As his dominance grew in college, so did his freestyle's ambitions. Then came 2012. Fresh off winning his first NCAA championship and establishing himself as one of the best athletes in the country, Taylor entered the US Open at 74 kilograms. It was his first real attempt to break into the senior level competition, and awaiting there was a familiar foe, Kyle Dake. By now, Dake had already become one of the names attached to every major obstacle in David Taylor's career. The NCAA rivalry had already intensified, but by now their battles expanded beyond the college world, this time with an Olympic dreams hanging in the balance. Taylor would advance through the bracket, and he would find himself standing across Kyle Dake once again. And history would repeat itself once again as Kyle Dake would pin David Taylor. Another loss, another reminder that Kyle Dake would be a thorn in his side for the coming years. By 2013, David Taylor began to make massive strides in freestyle. That year, he would add another university national championship to his resume, and he would finish second at the US Open, losing to King Jordan Burroughs. At that year's World Team Trials, Kyle Dake would be in David Taylor's way once again, and he would beat him once again.
The fourth with a late takedown here, 3 seconds to go. And what an entertaining match once again between these two super.
But David Taylor was getting better at freestyle, even though that he was losing to some of these top guys. Perhaps the most important development wasn't happening at these tournaments, but it was happening every single day inside of the room at the Penn State RTC. Taylor would be training year-round, surrounded by some of the best athletes and guided by coaches who understood exactly what it would take to compete internationally. Among those helping shape his development was Olympic gold medalist Jake Varner. The training environment was brutal, consistent competition, consistent adjustment, consistent evolution. By 2014, during his final year at Penn State, Taylor had become one of the top freestylers in America, still competing at 74 kilograms. He would reach the finals of the US Open and the World Team Trials, where he will be up against reigning world and Olympic champion King Jordan Burroughs. In all meetings, he came away painfully close to earning a spot to represent the United States at the Senior World Championships. Twice he fell short in matches that he was winning and could have put away. The results of this told a fascinating story. On the college side, David Taylor looked nearly untouchable, an NCAA superstar, a generational talent, one of the greatest college wrestlers of his era, but internationally, the climb had only just begun. Freestyle was exposing weaknesses that college had never forced him to confront, and perhaps for the first time since childhood, David Taylor wasn't the hunter, he was chasing those ahead of him. From 2010 to 2014, he would compile a freestyle record of 29 wins and 8 losses. The numbers were impressive, but the medals and the records didn't matter the most. These years done something far more important. They were preparing him for the battles that would define him for the rest of his career. Because very soon, David Taylor will be leaving the college world behind. Because the climb to become the best in the world had just started. David Taylor never wanted to be remembered as simply a great college legend. His eyes was always on something bigger, far greater, the Olympic Games, and to get there, he needed to evolve.
Well, the word is out. The decision to make a weight change is the absolute talk of the sport. How did you make the decision?
But really, making a decision really comes down to, looking at my future and what I think is best for me moving forward. I was very big for my weight class previously at 74 kilos, and ultimately that big weight cut, I couldn't put my best performance on the mat.
Moving up to 86 kilograms didn't just change David Taylor's weight class, it changed the course of his entire career. After years of competing at lighter weights, Taylor committed to transforming his whole entire body, adding nearly 25 pounds of muscle. The extra size gave him the strength to compete with the world's elite, while preserving the speed, conditioning, and the relentless pace that already made him one of the most dangerous athletes on the planet. The first sign that something special was happening came at the 2017 World Cup. Taylor stormed through the tournament with a perfect 4-0 record, defeating not one but 2 Olympic champions along the way. Most notably during this World Cup run, he would beat Hassan Yazdani, the reigning Olympic gold medalist and the man that many believe was unbeatable, and he would be moving up to 86 kilograms. It was a performance that announced David Taylor was a legitimate world title contender. But the road to the top was not easy by any means necessary. Later that year, Taylor came heartbreakingly close to making his first senior world team after dominating the challenge tournament with the same offensive style that carried him through the US Open. He would earn an opportunity at a best-of-3 series showdown with the Olympic bronze medalist J'den Cox. Taylor pushed Cox to the limit, forcing the series to go all 3 matches, even scoring more total points across the board in the series. But in the end, it wasn't enough. Cox won 2 of the 3 matches, and Taylor was left wondering how close he truly was to becoming the best in the world. This disappointment did not stop him. It became fuel. When Cox moved up to 92 kilograms in 2018, the path at 86 kilograms was finally clear. Taylor wasted no time proving that he belonged at the top, capturing his third US Open title before dominating the Final X matchup and earning his long-awaited spot on Team USA. The World Championships in Budapest immediately test him. His very first opponent was none other than Olympic and defending world champion Hassan Yazdani. Trailing in the opening period, Taylor refused to panic. Instead, he would have an unbelievable second half comeback, scoring at will to defeat Hassan Yazdani 11-6, and once again he would shock the world. The momentum didn't stop there. Then in the gold medal match, he would put together one final dominant performance to capture his first world championship. After years of coming close, David Taylor had finally reached the top of the world. The move to 86 kilograms hadn't simply extended his career, it unlocked the best version of the Magic Man, and then it was off to the races. By 2018, David Taylor had finally done it. After years of rebuilding himself physically, moving up weight classes, and battling through countless setbacks, he had captured his first ever world championships and established himself as the best 86 kilogram wrestler on the planet. Everything was finally coming together for David Taylor. The Olympic Games were approaching, momentum was finally on his side, and for the first time in his career, it felt like nothing could stop him. Then everything stopped. Taylor entered 2019 looking every bit of the man destined to stand on top of the Olympic podium. Early in the year, he captured a gold medal at the Pan Am Championships, where he would earn a tech fall in the finals, continuing the dominant run that had begun after his world championship. He looked untouchable, but in April, disaster would strike. At the Beat the Streets showcase, Taylor would suffer a devastating knee injury. Immediately, everything changed. The damage would be severe enough for a surgery to be required. More months of rehabilitation followed. The reigning world champion was suddenly forced off the mat. The timing could not have been worse. As Taylor was recovering, he was forced to withdraw from Final X. This meant that David Taylor did not have the opportunity to represent the United States at 86 kilograms. This would be the first time that he did not represent the United States since winning his world championship. The 2019 World Championships came and went without him, and suddenly the questions began to surface. Could David Taylor come back the same athlete? Had the injury permanently changed the trajectory of his career? No one knew the answer to this. Then the year 2020 arrived. The COVID-19 pandemic brought sports across the globe to a standstill. Competitions were canceled, training schedules disappeared overnight, and perhaps the most devastating of it all, the Tokyo Olympics were postponed. For Taylor, the situation was brutal. He had spent months rehabbing one of the worst injuries of his career, only to enter a world where competition no longer existed. The momentum he built over nearly a decade had vanished. For many athletes, an injury combined with a global shutdown would have completely derailed everything, but David Taylor has spent a lifetime learning how to adapt. Inside of the Penn State room, the work continued quietly, patiently, methodically, and slowly the Magic Man would return. By early 2021, Taylor was back to finally competing. And one thing remained the same. David Taylor was still David Taylor, ripping through the competition. In nearly 2 years of chaos, David Taylor was still the man to beat. Then came the United States Olympic team trials. One final obstacle stood between him and the dream that he had been chasing since childhood. Across the mat stood a fellow Penn State star, and someone he knew very well. Three-time NCAA champion, Bo Nickel, a rising star many believe could challenge Taylor's dominance. But once again, the matches started and there was no debate. Taylor shut him out 6-0 across 2 matches. An Olympic berth secured. At last, the dream was alive.
Disaster in 2019, but back on top and headed to Tokyo for Team USA.
Then came Tokyo, years of preparation, years of setback, a brutal knee injury, a global pandemic, every obstacle imagined delayed this moment. But now, standing inside the Olympic arena, David Taylor was 4 matches away from the one achievement that has driven him his entire life, an Olympic gold medal. Taylor would run through the bracket as dominant as ever, every match pushing him one step closer to his ultimate goal. And in the finals was the man who had become his greatest international rival, Hassan Yazdani, the Iran superstar, the Olympic champion, the former world champion, one of the few athletes on the earth capable of matching Taylor's brilliance. This wasn't simply a gold medal match. This was a collision between two of the best athletes in the world, and for 6 minutes, they battled in one of the greatest freestyle matches in wrestling history, back and forth, neither man giving an inch, and as the final seconds ticked away, Yazdani held the advantage, and David Taylor's Olympic dreams appeared to be slipping away. But then, magic. With seconds remaining, Taylor would hit a perfectly timed double leg, perfectly executed. He would score 4-3. With the time ticking away, David Taylor had done it, an Olympic gold medal. After years of setbacks, injuries, missed opportunities, and endless uncertainty, he had reached the top of the mountain.
Hoped it would deliver. You said it, Neil, the last few seconds you felt it would come down to it. You've seen enough big fights over your lifetime, haven't you?
But the story wasn't finished. Just months later, David Taylor returned to the competition world once again, but this time at the World Championships. And once again, he would run through the bracket. And in the finals, he would see yet again Hassan Yazdani. This time, the results were different. Hassan Yazdani would get the win in a 6-2 match. For the first time in years, David Taylor had been beaten on the world stage, and with that loss, one of the greatest rivalries in modern day history entered a new chapter, a rivalry built on absolute respect. Two champions, two masters of their craft, consistently pushing one another towards greatness. By the end of 2021, David Taylor had accomplished what few athletes would ever accomplish: a world champion, Olympic champion, one of the most feared athletes on the planet. Yet now, one of the hardest chapters of his career still laid ahead, because very soon, the wrestling world would witness David Taylor's greatest test. Not a rivalry, not an injury, but time itself. After standing on top of the Olympic podium in Tokyo, David Taylor had officially entered a different category of greatness. An Olympic champion, a world champion, the undisputed king at 86 kilograms. For most athletes, reaching this summit, reaching this mountaintop, begins the decline. The hunger fades, the body's slow, the motivation changes. But David Taylor wasn't finished. If anything, he was getting better. In the year 2022, Taylor will return to the World Championships, carrying the confidence of an Olympic champion, and once again looking like the most dangerous athlete on the planet. And waiting in the finals was the man who had become the defining rivalry of his international career, Hassan Yazdani. By now, their rivalry had evolved into something bigger than wins and losses. Two champions at the absolute peak of the sport. Two athletes consistently forcing one another to improve. The world watched every time they stepped onto the mat. But this time, David Taylor left no doubt. He tore through the bracket with 3 tech falls before reaching the finals and then dismantling Hassan Yazdani 7-1 to capture yet another world championship. It wasn't simply winning, it was a statement. The Olympic gold medal had not been satisfied. He still wanted more, and somehow in 2023, he looked even better. Returning to the World Championships yet again, Taylor looked unstoppable. From the opening whistle, every opponent was overwhelmed, the pace was brutal, the offense was relentless. And once again, waiting in the finals was Hassan Yazdani. But this time, their rivalry had reached a breaking point. The match quickly turned chaotic, scrambles, counterattacks, consistent pressure. Then suddenly, David Taylor found the opening. In one final sequence, he secured the fall. Pin. For years, Hassan Yazdani had been one of the few men on the earth capable of standing across from David Taylor as an equal. Now even he had fallen. Back-to-back world championships, an Olympic gold medal. At this point, David Taylor wasn't simply winning, he was building one of the greatest freestyle careers in American history. But greatness in wrestling has one unavoidable truth: time always catches up. And in the year 2024, time had finally arrived for Mr. David Taylor. As the Paris Olympics approached, Taylor entered the U.S. Olympic team trials, carrying the pressure, one final opportunity to defend his Olympic championship, his Olympic title, one final chance to prove that he was still the very best in the world. Standing across from him was a familiar face, another Penn State star, another young star built into the same dynasty that David Taylor helped create, Aaron Brooks, and suddenly the parallels was impossible to ignore. Years earlier, David Taylor had arrived at Penn State, the future of the program, forcing Bubba Jenkins to leave. Now history had come full circle. David Taylor was no longer the young phenom. He was the veteran sitting across the next generation. Most expected Taylor to win. After all, he was still David Taylor, Olympic champion, multiple-time world champion, one of the greatest to ever do it for the great country, the United States. But the brutal truth is that this game has never cared about reputations or the expectation to win. In the best-of-3 Olympic team trial series, Aaron Brooks would shock the world. He would win the first match 4-1, then the second match. Just like that, David Taylor's dreams of defending his Olympic gold medal was over. No Paris, no second Olympic run, no opportunity to stand on top of the podium again. For the first time in over a decade, David Taylor had been dethroned. People began to wonder whether the Magic Man had finally reached his end.
Talk about Coach K a little bit. He's had an exciting summer. Have you been in contact with him, and how's he doing?
Yeah, I was in contact with him, obviously, with him all summer. I got a chance to wrestle a lot this summer.
Kyle Sanderson was my idol since I went to Wasatch wrestling practices when I was 9 years old. I want to wrestle like him. I want to be the guy in the national finals that scores 20 points.
And a little more serious, who's the biggest influence on your life?
I'd say, obviously my dad and my mom have been a big influence on my life. And Coach Sanderson, ever since I was little, he's been a role model of mine. And now to be a part of this program and wrestle for him, just try and do as much as I can. And I like him. He's a great person. He's a great coach.
The head coach at Oklahoma State. I can't believe this has happened. The way this has transpired, following this from start to finish, has been a crazy up and down road.
D. Lockett, you're a huge recruit in the class of 2025 and already committed to Oklahoma State. And we're here because David Taylor just got announced as the new head coach at Oklahoma State, so I just want to hear about it. It's got to be a crazy week for you, right?
Shortly after the Olympic trials loss, one of the biggest announcements in the college world sent shockwaves throughout the sport. David Taylor had accepted the role as head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, replacing legendary coach John Smith and taking over one of the sport's most historic programs. And just like that, a new chapter started for David Taylor. And the impact was immediate. In his first season leading Oklahoma State, the Cowboys surged back into national contention, Big 12 champions, and a third-place finish at the NCAA championships, their best national finish in years. Under Taylor, the program produced NCAA champions DJ Hamidi, Wyatt Hendrickson, and 6 All-Americans, and assembled one of the strongest recruiting classes in the country. The foundation was being built fast. And around the sport, people began to realize something dangerous. David Taylor wasn't simply learning how to coach. He was rebuilding a powerhouse. For 15 years, he helped build Penn State into a wrestling modern empire. He helped recruit athletes. He helped develop the champions. He helped strengthen the dynasty. But now everything had changed, because for the first time in his life, David Taylor stood on the opposite side. The student had become the rival. The architect had left the kingdom he helped create, and now he may be the greatest threat the kingdom had ever faced, because somewhere in Stillwater, David Taylor is building again. Only this time, he isn't building Penn State. He's building the machine designed to take Penn State down. And if history tells you anything about David Taylor, is betting against him is never a good idea. Then came the 2026 NCAA championships, and what happened there sent shockwaves throughout the whole wrestling world. The Cowboys would finish that year's tournament as NCAA runner-ups, their highest finish in over a decade. But what is even more unbelievable is that the Oklahoma State Cowboys crowned 3 individual national champions, and they were all 3 freshmen. At 133 pounds, Jax Forrest completed a spectacular tournament run by winning an NCAA title. This would only further cement himself as one of the brightest young stars in the entire sport. At 141 pounds, Sergio Vega did something in college that has not been seen in 80 years. He would defeat Jesse Mendez in stunning victory, but he will become the first true freshman since 1947 to finish the entire year undefeated, with 24 wins and 0 losses. History. Then at 157 pounds, Landon Robidoux stunned the field, upsetting defending national champion Antrell Taylor to capture Oklahoma State's 3rd champion of the night. 3 freshman national champions, the first program in NCAA history to ever accomplish something like this, and suddenly, the landscape of the college world shifted, because David Taylor wasn't simply rebuilding Oklahoma State. He was building something far more dangerous, a young roster, an elite recruiting class, champions arriving immediately, a culture built around aggression, pace, and consistent pressure. The same exact style that made him into the Magic Man, and now, for the first time in over a decade, Penn State has a real threat. The irony here is almost poetic. The Magic Man isn't chasing titles from himself, he's chasing the throne. And standing in his way is everything that he helped build, the dynasty he once called home. And like I've said before on many occasions, this is just the start of the next great war in the college world.